Let's take a look at question number 1. It says, in triangle ABC, points D and E are on sides AB and BC respectively, such that DE and AC are parallel to one another. All right, I'm going to indicate that right now. Okay, we see that these two lines are parallel with one another, and I also see that AD, this segment, and DB have a 3:5 ratio. What else do we see? It says that if DB is 6.3, and I'm going to indicate that right now, and AC is 9.4, all right, what is the length of DE? So this is our objective. We're trying to figure out what is the length of DE to the nearest tenth. How do we approach this? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is analyze this diagram and think, is there any way that we can establish similarity between this small triangle and this big triangle? Well, we're going to need to think about that given the information we have. I noticed that we've got two parallel lines. Do we have any angle relationships? We sure do. I can see that this angle right here and this angle are congruent because they are corresponding. Likewise, I see we've got this angle and this angle. They're corresponding. I know that you guys know this. And then, if we're thinking about the small triangle and the big triangle, we see this angle is shared between the two triangles. We can definitely establish a similarity. All right, so once we've established this similarity, what can we do with that ratio? So I remember a moment ago we read it says that there's an AD right here to DB has a 3:5 ratio. What does that mean? So essentially that means that there is a 3-part to 5-part ratio between these two segments. Now, if we're trying to think about how we can break these segments up into proportional lengths, we need to think about how many parts rather is there from A to B. There's a total, of course, of A parts. And given this information, can we now write a proportion? We sure can. So I'm going to set this up, and there's a few ways that you can do this. I know that we're going to be thinking about the relationship between DE and AC. So this is what's really crucial right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write DE over AC equals what? I'm going to be looking at the parts, and if I'm looking at this the smaller triangle, I can see that from D to B has 5 parts. So I'm going to put 5 over how many parts? Well, we're going to be thinking about the entire segment, the entire side. So it's not just the 3 parts, but it's both parts. So it's going to be a total of course, 8. All right, and I also know that we can substitute in a value for AC. I remember that it's 9.4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write DE 9.4 equals 5 over 8. And now we need to solve for DE because that's the objective of this problem. So let's do that right now. I'm going to cross multiply, of course, and we've got DE times 8 equals 5 times 9.4. And actually, let's try that in our handy dandy calculator. 9.4 times 5 is 47. All right. So DE times 8 equals 47. We're going to need to divide both sides by 8, of course. And when we do that, DE equals what? What does DE equal? It equals 5.875. All right. I know that the problem asks us to identify the value to the nearest tenth. And if it's 5.875, clearly option 3 is the winner at 5.9. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the answer. Let's take a look at question number 2. It says, in the diagram of ABC, points D and E are on sides AB and CD respectively, such that DE is parallel to AC. All right, I'm going to indicate that right now so that this segment is parallel to this segment. And I also see that if EB, which is this segment right here, is 3 more than DB, all right, I also see that AB equals 14 and CB equals 21, what is the length of AD? All right, our objective is to figure out the length of this segment right here. Let's start marking this up a little bit. So I know that AB is 14, so this entire length is 14. I'm going to include that right here. I also see that CB is 21. All right, so what do we know? I know a few things. It says that if EB is 3 more than DB, what else can we say? So we don't know how much DB is, so let's just describe DB as X. And it says EB is 3 more than it, so we can simply call it X plus 3, right? And then we're trying to figure out what is AD. What is this length right here? This is our ultimate objective. What we can do is if we recognize that through these parallel lines, we can establish a similarity through these 2 points right here. So we've got corresponding angles right here. Likewise, we've got corresponding angles right here. And we've got this shared angle between the small triangle and the big triangle. So we can set up proportions. And how should we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to set this up so we've got AB, which is the long leg of the big triangle, over, let's say, DB, which is the long leg of the small triangle. So I'm going to write that like 14 over X equals what? So if we're going from big triangle to small triangle, it's now going to be hypotenuse of big triangle over hypotenuse of small triangle. So I know that the hypotenuse of the big triangle is 21. So let's write that right now. 21 over X plus 3. Great. So we're going to need to solve for X. So that's going to help us figure out the segment AD. And I know that when we do that, we're going to simply cross multiply. So I'm going to do 21 times X, of course, is 21X. So, and we've got 14 times X plus 3. Let's do a little distribution. So we got 14X, and I know that 14 times 3 is going to give us what? It's going to give us, of course, 42 equals 21X. We can then combine like terms, and to do that, let's subtract 14X from both sides. And we are left with what? 7X equals 42. We're going to divide both sides by 7 so that X equals 6. All right. Tremendous. This is amazing. All right. So we now know that X equals 6. So let's return here for a moment. So X is 6. I know that if this segment right here is 6, and the entire segment A to B is 14, we said that earlier, then what is AD? AD, of course, has got to be 8. And is ocho an option when we look at our 4 options? It sure is. It's option number 2. 2 is the correct answer.